Okay. Hi. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for coming to Real Writing for Real People. Let me start by saying my name is Morsalata Muhammad, and I worked with my colleague,
Jennifer Schinnebarger.
and we wanted to bring Real Writing for Real People to you all. We're hoping that this is the first of the activities that we will do, like one a semester. That depends on how many alumni students still want to talk to us, and we can bring students back. So I'm going to tell you a bit about the history of Real Writing for Real People. We started it a couple years before COVID. And at that point, it was called, no, I just, it was called Who Cares? Why Bother? Real Writing for Real People. I like that first part. And we brought in professionals to come and talk to students, and it was a really good run. It got really big. It was like a conference style thing, and it got bigger than us. And we're like, we don't know if we can sustain this. And then lots of things happened during our pandemic, and we're back now with this version. And we thought, instead of going out in the community and trying to find professionals out there, we have enough students. Because, I've been teaching here that long. We have enough students who are out there already doing it. And we thought it would be more interesting for our current students to come and hear what professionals are doing who are former GRCC students. And we count everyone as alumni. We're not saying you came here to GRCC and you got an associate's degree. If you came here to GRCC and got what you needed so that you can go to the next part of your life, we're talking about you. So that's a little bit of our background. And we hope this is going to be interesting. We are excited to learn some of the things that our students are doing. And all of our presenters today were either students in my class or, I'm not going to say it, Shannon Barber's class. I'm so sorry. My name is Morsalata Muhammad, so I try really hard with people's names. All right, so Jennifer is going to take over and tell us about our presenters.
Oh, I am? Well, they'll tell you about themselves, but I just wanted to piggyback off of what Professor Muhammad said and welcome you all. We're really just trying to bridge that gap. Not that I don't think there's a lot of events that have former alumni students coming in and getting to meet in person or even virtual with our current students. So that was something that was really important to us when we were bringing this back, is not only find professionals, but professionals that have been through the same doors you have, and really transcending, what we do in the classroom in the real world, which is something I know I don't want to say preach, but talk about a lot in the classroom. And I just say, trust me, or you'll see. But I think this is a chance for you to actually see, firsthand. So I'm so excited for you to be here. I had Eric and Will in my English 101 and 102 classes. I think Eric was several years ago now, 5 or 6, and William was right after the pandemic. So seeing students come back, be in touch, and see what they're actually doing 5, 6, 7, 8, I've been here this long too, 9, 10 years later, is something that's really important. Again, we want to have you see what we see, okay? So you could see how what you're doing applies in real life. All right, so let's get started. Let's get on with the show. So I think we're going to start with Damari, right? Damari, you ready to go?
Yep.
All right.
All right, let me share the screen first. Here we go. All right, so I guess first I'll introduce myself. My name is Damari McBride, and I am a photographer, and I'm located out in New York City. I went to GRCC straight out of high school. So I graduated high school in 2004, went straight to GRCC that fall. Met Morsalata, or Professor Muhammad, as I generally call her, in the bookstore, the GRCC bookstore where I worked for a number of years. And Entered her, I think we had a creative writing class, and then we had an advanced English class. And, I'll kind of mention that advanced English class in a bit. But so I guess I'll start with a quick kind of run through of images that I felt related to this talk. Um, all of these images that you're going to see are from personal work. And what happens in like photography is that I'm an editorial and commercial and portrait photographer. So what happens is, in order to get commercial and editorial work, you have to continue building and working on your own to for your personal work in order to kind of beef up your portfolio so that people are seeing your work. They know that you're constantly active, and you're doing the things that you want to do. So it never cease to get dull. Instead, because you always do get to work on what you do. Some of the commercial stuff and editorial stuff that you get, you may not want to do. It is you may not be interested in. So your personal work keeps you kind of grounded in what it is that you truly want to do. And this work can lead to getting you things like residencies and other things and more work that you want in the future, which I'll touch on in a bit. So this is from a series called the Urban Pen Inspiration that I worked on to study portraiture in black and white in a specific kind of condensed space. And if anyone wants any more explanation, just ask questions. This is from a series that I'm working on called the Black Coffee Project, where it explores and highlights Black people working in the specialty coffee industry across the nation. Anything from roasters to barista to coffee shop owners. It's really important that we highlight it because of its origin, and there's just not much information out there about African Americans working in specialty coffee. This is again another portrait from the Irving Penn inspiration. This is an image from my first residency, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. This is a continuation of the Black Coffee Project. This is one as well. This is this was going to be work for an album, a musician's album, and then he changed it, and so I ended up just using it because we really liked her. It turns out that this is Alana, and she was super famous in New York City, and she had an extremely interesting story. And she's even in a documentary called Advanced Style on Netflix that follows a group of older women that are just amazing. This is another one from Black Coffee Project, and this is from Beautiful Strength. So I want to kind of just connect this to writing now. Writing in every industry is extremely important. Everything that I've learned for Professor Muhammad's class and my English 101, I didn't take English 101 with her, but from my advanced class to any writing classes that I've taken have been extremely invaluable to my success as a photographer. in commercial work, you're going to have to do these things called pitches, where you're constantly researching things that you'll come up with a concept and you want to research it to make sure that one, it fits the publication that you're trying to give it to. And what comes in handy are the research skills that you probably use in order to do like a book report, or you know how to source things, you know how to properly do a bibliography, because you still have to do that stuff in this field. From research to artist statements, because you're constantly trying to kind of sell yourself. The images will speak, in, technical and visual things, but those pictures still need captions. They still need words. They still need, the project still needs an overall kind of description to help you get in the mindset, and then kind of think for yourself after you know what the photographer, the artist, or any visual person is trying to do. I work in filmmaking as well, and we all know those start with research. Then we know that they start with multiple drafts of scripts. One thing that one story I can tell is that in Professor Muhammad's advanced class, we got this thing called a rhetorical analysis. Now, if you think you're not going to use something, I would like caution you to kind of say, like, question it, because these things always come back. Like, they always come back. After I went to GRCC, I went to Wayne State. I transferred to Wayne State. And this rhetorical analysis thing, I took a stab at it, and it was just absolutely horrible. It was, I got my paper back. We'll argue to this day. There were a bunch of red marks on it. Professor Muhammad said there wasn't. I don't know. I beg to differ. But it was horrible. And I dropped the class. I just did not, I gave up. I couldn't get past this thing. And I was just like, I'm not going to use this. I'm never going to see this again. And I was at Wayne State in another English class, second year English class, and a rhetorical analysis came up. And so like I go outside of class, I call Professor Muhammad. I'm just like, guess what we have to do? This rhetorical analysis assignment. And she just started laughing. And until this day, like when someone asks me, am I really going to need this in my field, I just think about the rhetorical analysis story. And it's like everything that you're learning is going to come up, no matter if it's algebra or English, like all of that stuff comes back. And I'm just a massive advocate of all the stuff that I've learned, and I continue to kind of enhance those skills. And so hopefully you guys are doing that too, especially with all the new inventions in technology and everything. The thing is not to depend on those things, it's to kind of sort through the writing and the research and all of that yourself, and then work in tandem with these new forms of technology. Because I mean, we in 2004 we weren't doing that. We didn't have anything like that. So it was library, it was Google, it was I studied law, so it was LexisNexis. It was all these different things that I had to do, and I had to hone in on those skills to reach where I am today. And I'm continuously doing that and reaching out to Professor Muhammad. Can you, read this grant that I'm writing? Can you read this, this bid, this pitch? So it just never escapes you. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on writing.
All right, so Hello. Okay, so thank you, Damari, for that abbreviated version of that story we both experienced. Please do use your phones to ask any questions. You're going to be welcome to speak questions out loud here, but we may not get to all of them. So we really want the opportunity to hear what people are thinking. And after each of our guests, our presenters, you'll have the opportunity to ask at least one burning question, maybe one or two. Otherwise, you can post them and then we'll come back to them at the end. But we want to make sure that each of our guests gets your fresh thoughts if you have a question immediately for them. Any questions for Damari out there? Oh, got one. All right. Wait, let me get you.
Oh, okay. So my question is, have you always knew what you wanted to pursue career-wise? And when you decided on the path you wanted to take, did you think writing would be an important factor?
That's a good question. So I'm going to answer the second question kind of first. I've always thought that writing was going to be an important factor. Why? Because I studied pre-law and philosophy, and that's nothing but writing. And I wanted to be a lawyer. And I only wanted to do that because my mom, like most people, didn't want me to be an artist. And then when I got to my junior year, the end of my junior year, senior year of college, that's when I knew that I wanted to just be an artist. After taking a couple of art classes, but I didn't want to stay in college and accrue more debt. So I just finished. And I just finished my degree. And so I used my philosophy minor in tandem with my photography and filmmaking to kind of propel me forward. So yeah, like I always knew that either thing I was going to be doing a lot of writing, a lot of stories, a lot of am I great at it? No, but it's like each time. That's why we have all of these, like you have a group of friends or professors that you give the stuff back to continue looking over it and drafting. So yeah, I always knew that writing was going to be extremely, extremely important.
Okay, thank you. And just so we can make sure we're trying to stay on track here, if we didn't get to your question, please post it. And we should have time at the end to come back to them. And Damari, you mentioned Ferris, and I'm supposed to tell you that Professor at Ferris, Grant Snyder, says hello. So you want to reach out to him. And then, yep. So I'm just supposed to tell you that. Okay.
Oh, thanks. I'll message Dr. Snyder.
All right.
So we're going to transition to our in-person speaker, Eric Howard. So come on up.
Okay.
I actually find while you're coming up, it's interesting how much connections there are because you'll see Eric is going to talk about some of his filmmaking. And I didn't know Damari went into law as well, and Will be talking about his law experience. So I never would have really thought photography, film, and law would have all been in the same person, but apparently it is. So that's great.
Yeah.
Without further ado, here you go, Eric Howard.
I have a mic on me, I think, so I think I'm good. Do I? Okay. Hi, everybody. So my name is Eric Howard. As I was introduced as, I came to GRCC in 2018, came right out of high school, and then was here for about 2 years, moved on to Grand Valley. My time at CC is always kind of an interesting one for me to look back on, so I'll try to keep it abridged and keep it on track. So I came into GRCC because specifically in my senior year of high school, people were applying for colleges. And I remembered I saw someone that was in a class because our English teacher was like, we're going to give you a total time to apply to colleges. And people were like crying over their application letters. And I was like, that seems really like a lot. So I just went to CC because you get in pretty easily. So I was like, if you couldn't tell, I didn't really care about anything. And so I kind of came here and like didn't really know what I was doing. And I got whipped into shape almost instantaneously by Professor Schinnebarger because, yeah, if you're lazy, you're not going to survive like in the class. So got whipped into shape pretty fast. People were also struggling, and I was like, I don't know what I have done, but I apparently grabbed the hardest English class possible. But it worked out in the end. I kind of bit back, I guess, for lack of a better term, and challenged kind of one of the first projects we had to do, which I don't even remember what it was called. Like, Shaping Influences? Maybe, yeah, something like that. So some of you guys probably, yeah, I was going to say some people probably have heard of that. And I kind of broke the format and wrote about a movie instead. It was something, you're supposed to kind of write about like a live event, I remember, like, and kind of recount an experience. So I wrote about a movie instead, and it went really well, and I really liked it. So like anyone does when they have no idea what they're going to do, they decide to be an artist. So I decided to go into filmmaking, was with the English program here for about 2 years, decided to go into filmmaking, had huge imposter syndrome, somehow whipped it up. I don't know how I got here today, to be honest, got really lucky, but I'm a writer and director of 2 films. I'm writing 2 more. The one that I will show you an excerpt from today is finishing up in the festival circuit across the region, which was very fun. And then my day job, which is where the actual real writing for real people comes into, is I literally write for real people. I'm a journalist, so I work at WZZM 13 in Grand Rapids, so the news organization, where we literally have to write things for real people to read or listen to. So that's a little bit about me. I've been at WZZM for 2 years and a filmmaker now for like 3 or 4, but you kind of don't really get to put a time frame on that because you don't get paid for doing it. You just do it on your own. So I think I'll probably start with the WZZM stuff first, just because that probably is more on brand here. So I kind of chose 2 pieces that felt like my best work. I think this should work. There we go. So as you can see, our website, which is just plagued by ads, so I apologize that it's like the ugliest thing to look at. But you can see I'm not lying, because there you go. There's my name right under the author thing there, so you know that I am doing this. But a lot of our articles that we're writing are actually from the stories that we create. So for example, this was a story that I told. Even when you replay it, they play an ad, man. We have the worst website ever. So, but when you write an article, you're usually synthesizing from the story that you've done. So in this particular instance, at the Grand Rapids Civic Theater, just here downtown, for Black History Month, I was put onto a performer, Ruth Ann Molinar, who has been playing there for literally forever. As I put in here, she's missed 15 out of 20 shows in the last 40 years. And the only reason she missed any shows was, number 1, she had a child. And then number 2, she wanted to be a DJ for a little while. So she did that and then decided to go back. So it was a really great experience to talk to her about that. But gathering a situation like that and gathering a story like that, I don't even know how I would have been able to write this without my time at GRCC, to be honest, because this is a long story, everything considered. But to be able to write something like this, which again, this was about 3 minutes long, you might be able to hear my voice.
Maybe 15, 20 shows pop out of 40 years.
You heard her right.
Yeah, so that's my voice. So it was on TV, which was fun. But being able to write like this, as someone that writes for the news, your entire job is, again, writing for real people. You're synthesizing facts, you're synthesizing information, research, sometimes getting moments right in the span of things. Literally just yesterday, 30 minutes before the end of my day, someone got hit and killed in Muskegon County by a massive semi-truck. And I had 30 minutes to basically figure out what the hell just happened, how did this person die, who killed it, all this kind of stuff. And so yeah, sorry for bringing the mood down. But that's the standard that you're kind of dealing with. You have to think on your toes really fast. And we got angry emails for it because we thought a little too quick. One of our producers jumped to conclusions and used a soundbite out of order that kind of implied that the trucker that killed her was wholly responsible. He's not. And so you see that type of relationship. This is one of the most unforgiving situations of writing, because everything you write will survive. It will last forever. It lasts in people's minds. And even though television news is a dying medium, there are still a lot of people that watch it and they do not know anything about decency, so they will be extremely mean to you if that's the case. So if you are one of them and you haven't sent us hate mail before, thank you, because nobody sends the positive stuff. They only send the negative. So part of what I learned at CC as well, again, is taking out that superfluous language and like actually talking just about what you need to know. In this case, doing a profile on a human being like this, like Ruth was like one of the most interesting people I've ever met in my entire life. Like, who cares? You know, when I ask that, who cares about what I say in this situation? Like, my job is to tell her story. My job is to learn about this process, like learn about what she was like, you know, growing up, you know, in a mixed race family that's coming up right here as the only black woman basically in the 70s and the 80s and part of a family of, you know, four to five white people. Like, that just wasn't normal. And so when you're telling these stories, that's what it's all about, is it's about synthesizing it, telling people what they need to know. And then another kind of instance where that came up, and I kind of started to blend everything here. And I promise, if you're already getting bored of me, we get to watch a movie in a little bit, so that's pretty cool. I hate that it's mine, but whatever. So another piece that I've done recently was a piece with a filmmaker talking about oppression. So Kate Levy is a friend of mine, and she was coming to Grand Rapids to show off some works that she has gotten over the years as kind of an activist filmmaker. That's like, I don't want to show you an ad. Here you go. We'll put some stuff up like this, because this was a lot thicker. I had to write a lot more stuff about what she was doing, because when you start talking about like police brutality, you kind of have to bring up some examples. But Kate has been a filmmaker for a long time and has been right kind of in the really in the minefields of oppression and talking, you know, all about different situations. And so when talking to her, this was a real big deal, because this is someone now, when you're approaching this, when you put this on the news, like, the footage that I'm using, which of course we have freaking ads everywhere. The footage I was using in this was actually from some of the instances where in Detroit, she was kind of on the ground post the murder of George Floyd. And the city of Detroit, I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but was actually sued for how they handled the protests and rallies after, because they used intense amounts of violence to dispel some of them, including beatings. And so she put together a piece that was used in the lawsuit, which was called Detroit Will Breathe. And so when you put that kind of stuff out there and you're covering that in the news, like, it has to be really careful, because you have to make sure that you're not, taking a side, or you're presenting what she's gathered. So I have to present what she's gathered and talk about it for that instance, and talk about her as a filmmaker and what she did, because the whole point of the movie is that she didn't use any words from anyone else besides activists and actual police footage, because it was basically made evidentiary. So that, again, is just part of the process where you just have to kind of talk, and you have to write for someone that's there. You want to, put links so people can check this stuff out. You have to, write for a real person that wants to read this, because again, when I was hearing the old name, I kind of laughed, where it was like, who cares? That was all I heard when I was writing, when I was at GRCC, is just, who the hell cares? And more often than not, I did not have the answer besides myself. So being in this experience and being in this journalistic role, you really learn this type of process. And again, I would not be able to do this without being at GRCC. I've been saying that before. That's pretty much why Professor Schindelberger asked me to come back, is because I say that every single time that someone asks me that question, because it never would have happened. So those are, I guess, two of the articles. I think I have to stay on time, so I can show you guys a movie now if you want. It's an excerpt from my thesis film, which I made at Grand Valley, which again was just finished up the festival circuit. This was a piece that we made for like $2,000. It was really hard. It was fun, and there's also a lot of cursing. So if anyone has such a terrible response to negative word choices, cover your ears now. So I'm going to play you kind of an argument scene that was probably the best thing that I had written personally in my entire life, because when you think, again, writing for real people, filmmaking, that's all you're doing, is you have to write for real people, no matter what you're writing in terms of, like, if you're making a Star Wars movie, versus you're making like a grounded rock and roll movie, like I had to for my influences. Like, do you guys ever realize when you're watching like a sci-fi movie that they write very normal things? Like, there's family drama, like, because you're writing for real people. People need to connect with this. So this was kind of the scene that was a particular love letter to my response and my life, kind of learning about rock and roll. So yeah. Let's do it.
Fucking front me a back, we get started. You boys ready?
I need a minute, Ray.
You kidding me? Give me a break, will ya? I bent over backwards putting this thing together for you, know. I don't have a minute to spare. What's wrong with you? All hammered or something from shooting the shit with the
Back the
roundhouse
fuck
stick?
off, Ray.
Excuse me?
We're playing a fucking show at Mulligan's, Ray. This isn't the Deltaplex.
What, you think I think all those yahoos down there match the numbers and cash box of the fucking Deltaplex? I know where we're at. We're in fucking Grand Rapids.
Yeah. What's so bad about that?
You'll find out once you get your piddly check from playing this mop closet.
Why is everything about money to you? We've been on the road for months, playing huge arenas. Yet here we are now at this place, and we gotta play extra fucking loud? Or shove a cameraman to sell a fucking movie or a live album? We're here to play a show. Who the hell cares?
Whole fucking country cares, that's who, you fucking punk. You know what? I'd put you in the big arenas in record time, huh? Just 2 years ago, playing this tin can would have been the biggest fucking show of your life, but no, you turned down the biggest fucking venue in Detroit.
You think the whole country cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, do they really give a fuck about the music? How can they care out there when we don't? And I know, you sure as hell don't give a shit. Seems like all you care about is how you can squeeze out whatever fucking life you got left in us. Well, I tell you, Ray, this is the last show. This is my last show.
Thank you for your patience. The show will begin momentarily.
Really? This is the last one, huh? But I fucking own you. You're nothing without me and you know it. You quit now? Then what are you gonna do, huh? Go solo? Those actual musicians, your band? Without them, you're nothing. Just a washed up wannabe rock star. Prancing around the stage. Screaming whatever lyrics are inspired by your last overdose. You'll get your fucking farewell tour soon enough. And then you can play all the fucking dumps like this shithole that you want to your heart's fucking content. Cause that's all the fuck you'll be able to book. Come on! Showtime. Let's end this tour with a motherfucking bang. Don't forget to wear your jacket, Your Highness. We're gonna auction that fucker off after this show. Let's go.
But is it his last show? Whoa, like who would have thought? So thank you, that was very kind. So yeah, just to keep it like quick, just because I know I've taken up a lot of time. Yeah, I mean, that's part of script writing. That's part, script writing, filmmaking, all these types of processes is, again, it's touching on real things, real conversations, real opinions, real thoughts. Why does anyone care about some rock star who's, wanting to be whoever he can be? Why do people care about music? Why do they care about a stage performance? And so you ask those questions, and that's kind of how you need to write for that process. So yeah, that's a little about me. Thanks. I think that's good, yeah. Thank you. Do you want me to stay up here for a second? Yeah. Okay.
All right. So again, if you can post your questions, and we have a few minutes if we have any questions in the room. All right, there we go.
Hi. What would you say to someone that is like trying to make a start in art and advertise or show people their art and get public opinion on it, basically?
Yeah. Is that person you? Okay. What are you thinking? What are you thinking in terms of?
I'm a visual artist, so I paint and I do digital art.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, number one is social media. I got to be honest. Social media is really the best way to do it. But again, writing skills, specifically doing this with writing, like cold calling and emailing different galleries and, you know, and things like that. Like I've had people that I went to high school with, you know, having their work displayed and everything like that. Like the Grand Rapids art scene is huge. There's so many galleries all over the place that'll like take kind of art and take anything that you want. So having the ability to kind of write and, you know, speak to not only your own talents, but also the key is, especially with writing and especially in selling yourself as a creative, is you have to really touch the nerve of why you should be showing your work and not why they should be showing you off. Does that make any sense? Like, it's kind of weird when you think it that way, but a gallery isn't gonna, you know, a gallery's not gonna necessarily care off the top of their head. So you have to be able to speak to like why this art is different. Why am I different? Why should someone watch my movie versus literally an Oscar-winning short film? Like, you know, what can I tell you? So I think it's a lot of being able to write to the strengths. Again, doing research, which is you've heard that twice now, do research on galleries, do research on places that display art, shows, that kind of stuff. And if you need to get in through the door, figure out who's the owner, figure out who's the curator, send them an email, talk them through, you know, what's going on here, and just talk about why this art is important for people to see. So probably the best I'd say.
All right, thank you. We are going to move on, but there is a question we're going to come back to, and I like Eric, you to think about that question too, because it was transition from these skills to what you're doing was for photography, but I think you may have something on that. So after our next speaker, and you can post questions anytime. So if you're sitting there and something pops in your head, you can go ahead and pop a question up. I'm going to give this over to Professor Schinenberger.
Yeah, yes, good. It's good enough. It's good. It's good. Okay, so our last speaker, last but not least, is William. Hi, Will. Tell us your last name, because I knew you as a different last name, so I don't want to butcher this one. So
my last name is Tagliarini, so it's got a little hard to pronounce, but not too hard. So,
all right, great. So you're going to talk to us a little bit about law stuff and case studies and psychology and all the impacts writing has had on his education and into his professional career, which I believe you're graduating soon. Is that right?
Yep. In about 2 weeks. So
that's great. All right. Well, take it away.
All right. So hi, everyone. My name is Will Tagliarini, and I'm currently a senior at the University of Michigan. I graduate in about 2 weeks, and I am a psychology major. In August, I'll be attending the University of Houston's law school, where I'm going to pursue my passion for advocacy in the criminal justice field. I'm also a legal intern for federal defense attorney out here in Philadelphia, which is moved out here, and I'm doing online for my senior year to do this internship. And I was at the prosecutor's office for about 3 years before I came out here. A little bit more about me is I was an early middle college student, so I went to GRCC while I was still in high school, and I had Professor Schinenberger for English 101 and English 102. And my journey from GRCC to really where I am today has been transformative. And I do owe a significant portion of my success to everything I learned in both English 101 and English 102. And I don't really think that these courses were just about writing essays. They were about working on my critical thinking skills, research skills, and understanding how effective communication can be in shaping opinions. And so I'm going to start with 2 artifacts. And so my first artifact is going to be from my criminal justice class here at University of Michigan, where I was given a hypothetical case and I had to provide a legal opinion. And I'm presenting these hypothetical cases because a lot of the work I did as a legal intern, I can't really present because they're not necessarily public. So I'll share my screen right now. All right, so in this chapter 6 assignment I had to do for this criminal justice class, I had to analyze a penal code about homicide in Michigan. And I think that this assignment really reflects the critical analysis skills I learned in all of my English courses. You know, just as we dissected dense texts in class to identify themes, meanings, and the underlying messages, I'm able to deconstruct legal statutes to uncover key arguments and elements which are really crucial to understanding all the cases. And I think that this process of analyzing complex text helps me in understanding legal situations, as well as strengthening my analytical thinking, a skill that's pretty much required in the criminal justice field. And I like to say we can see this analysis of the text where I had to look at the first degree murder statute and compare it to the manslaughter charge. And I had to kind of decide whether the statute was appropriate given the case details. And so, yeah, this is just kind of outline of what the statute says, and then I had to present about why the trial judge was correct in giving that statute. So I won't bore you with reading it all and giving all the numbers and details, but just kind of highlighting it. By analyzing these legal provisions related to first degree murder, I'm able to just demonstrate the ability to extract meaning from these dense texts, because right, this text is just kind of like a little excerpt from a long, long list of all these specific rules and history. And this skill is really essential for not only the legal world, but also academic. And it really does remind me of all the reading and text analysis we did in English, where I kind of learned to really navigate through layers of text to uncover like what's important, what's the author's intent, and what's the message. And I think that this analysis also shows the importance of contextualizing legal texts within legal frameworks and societal context, really, which is also kind of like the analysis that we did in the English classes. You know, just as we had examined literary works within historical, cultural, and philosophical, really, in both English 101 and 102, I'm able to now place legal statutes within the context of legal precedent, case law, and societal norms to get the meaning and what it implicates. And then I kind of also wanted to move on to another point of mine, which is my ability to craft persuasive arguments. So I think I'll go to this. So in crafting legal arguments, I'm able to now draw upon clear evidence and logical reasoning, which is really what's necessary for the construction of persuasive essays that we did in English classes. You know, just as I learned in English class to provide irrefutable evidence and sound reasoning to support every claim I made, I'm now able to use similar strategies to build compelling case and argument based on the legal precedent and respective statutes. And this, what I highlighted, demonstrates where I'm able to make claims while giving evidence in a clear manner. Like I had to define what strict liability is when a crime occurs. And I use a quote from a Supreme Court justice who defined this exact issue. And so I was really just able to clearly and concisely give my claim and the evidence to support it. And this ability to articulate complex legal concepts in a more straightforward and persuasive manner, it shows the emphasis on effective communication that I learned from English class. You know, I really learned how to use concise and well-structured arguments to display my meaning and try to influence opinions in all academic writing. And I think that these arguments that I give, whether it's this assignment or any other assignment, it shows the importance of having clarity and being precise. These are qualities that Professor Schnitterberger kind of ingrained into me rather, through the writing exercises and the feedback sessions we did for all the papers. And, you know, just as we refine our writing skills in her English classes to express ideas with clarity and conciseness, I'm now able to present my legal analysis in a way that my audience doesn't have to be legal scholars to understand, which really, it shows the applicability of effective communication skills. I also want to look at some of my research skills through these assignments as well. My assignment kind of also showcases the importance of research skills, because through gathering legal references, statutes, and case law to support my analysis, I'm able to use the research-intensive approach that I was really taught and learned here at GRCC. You know, I had to navigate different sources and evaluate them all critically. And this can be seen in this paper as well, where I had to find quotes from the courts and the Supreme Court justice and use them to support my claims. For example, I was looking at the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals from a case that was published in like 1990. I went through everything I had to read, and I had to find a specific quote that was related to my paper. And the depth of my research is from this learned skill that I learned through GRCC to be thorough and have this ability to discern credible sources, which is really a huge skill for me that I learned through all the research assignments and writing exercises. And just as we learned in class to evaluate sources for reliability, relevance, and authority, I demonstrate this through selecting the correct sources and making sure they're appropriate. And getting into this legal literature and precedent does remind me of what we did in English 101 and English 102 when we were always tweaking our research questions, hypothesis, and methods, and just always looking until we got them exactly right. Here, it's kind of the same deal. I'm constantly circling back, tweaking my understanding of the statute, reinterpreting the facts until I really get them nailed down tight. And it's a bit of back and forth, but that's just how I did it in class. And it's been the same skill since. And the other artifact I wanted to look at is from my psychology class here at University of Michigan, where I worked with two other individuals to conduct a study about mate selection preferences among college students. We had to do a survey, we had to analyze the data, and then write about it. So let me pull that up. So when I started this paper, I had to go into all these studies about mate selection preferences among college students, which was surprisingly a lot of studies about. But I didn't even scratch the surface. I was thrown into like this rabbit hole of critical reading and analysis and research and all these findings. But I think English 102 really instilled in me a deep appreciation for examining issues from multiple perspectives. And in that mindset, it proved valuable as I dissected studies about attractiveness, perceptions, and mate preferences. And it wasn't really just about regurgitating what the studies reported. It was about looking into the underlying issue and what it means. And this skill isn't just confined to psychology either. It's been a fundamental tool for anyone, or for me, and it undoubtedly plays a role in my day-to-day life and pretty much every work assignment, school assignment that I do. And I think this can be demonstrated where I had to incorporate a lot of previous studies into my paper and kind of give an analysis of what these previous studies show. I'm not going to read the whole paragraph. It's a little long and kind of running short, but essentially this paragraph just gives some previous studies and what the findings were, what they implicate, and what it means. Another thing I wanted to highlight was how English 102, it wasn't necessarily just about absorbing ideas and absorbing knowledge. It was about learning the art of listening and kind of respecting all these different viewpoints. And that fundamental principle stayed with me as I began my final paper and as I started my career. And I don't confine myself to my own thoughts. I try to immerse myself in a lot of perspectives from existing literature, and this can be seen in this paper as well. And grasping those viewpoints allowed me to construct more robust arguments and advocate my points more effectively. And I think that's useful whether you're just navigating psychology or the criminal justice system as well. Having this ability to perceive issues from various angles is essential for advocating for any type of change or advocating any type of opinion. And although I can't really show this is demonstrated through the fact that this paper was a group paper. Me and my partners, we had to do everything, but we wrote it separately. And so, we did everything from scratch, and I had to work with others and be understanding of their ideas and incorporate them. And the last point here with this paper is the effective communication is what English 102 really hammered home for me. And it's the importance of articulating my messages clearly and convincingly. And in this paper, I faced the daunting task of conveying research findings in a manner that my audience was able to resonate with and easily able to grasp. And the communication skills I honed and I learned and honed in on in English were extremely helpful in arguing my case persuasively and swaying people's opinions. And I kind of learned that no matter how groundbreaking your ideas may be, if you can't convey them effectively, they're unlikely to leave a lasting impact. I can say this is mostly highlighted through looking at the study's results and discussions. And I had to use all these big stats, big words, and then the discussion and the summary, you have to kind of break that down in a clear, concise manner that people can understand. So I just highlighted a couple things after, pages and pages of research, and then, just a short paragraph just explaining everything you just read in 11 pages down to one paragraph. And so, like, altogether, I think that these papers show the foundational skills I learned in both English 101 and English 102 at GRCC have shaped my journey to advocacy and as a student going into criminal justice. It's been very helpful. I analyze legal texts and I craft persuasive arguments day to day. And I'm trying to critically engage with all these diverse perspectives and communicate these research findings I find. And these courses truly equipped me with all the tools necessary for success in my future as a criminal defense attorney. And I wanted to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity to share my story and pretty much everything I've done.
Okay, so that was really great to hear. Thanks, Will. I think a lot of these 101 students are right in the middle of their research essays and experiencing what you just talked about, circling back, honing in. I felt like a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm right in the middle of it. So it was really nice to hear that you will use it at some point, probably later in life. And the critical thinking, I'm so glad you touched on that too, because I think it should be called critical thinking class, really, instead of writing, because that's really what it's about. So that is amazing. Anybody have some questions for Will? Then we'll just kind of circle back for the questions that were for everybody, but no? Okay.
Thank you, Professor Shenenberger. Shenenberger. So no, thank you everyone who zoomed in. And I don't know if we said why they zoomed in, because where's Will? Where are you calling? What state are you in? Are you in Florida?
Where I live right now?
No, you're zooming in. Are you at U of M or like where?
Yep. I'm at University of Michigan.
Okay.
But I live in Philadelphia, so I'm doing my senior year online to do an internship.
All right. And the Damari is coming to us from New York. So also when we were planning this, we were a little bit like, okay, we're asking people to come in person. Not all of our presenters can be in person, but I think we decided that's great because we want students to be here and say, hey, yes, today you are sitting in an auditorium. But when you're done here, we might have to zoom you in, I don't know, from Zurich or someplace. So where you may Bahamas, someplace, wherever you want to go. Because where you start and then where you end up, what have you. And maybe some of you will hang around and can come in person. We love that too. So we have, this is a different QR code. This is our QR code for our event. And we really need, if you didn't ask a question, we really do need your feedback about your experience with writing for real people. And then we did have one question left where I'm going to ask, it was, how did you transition your writing skills to the art that you do? So photography or the film world, like, can you, if you feel like answering that, Damari or Eric, you're still mic'd, right?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the transition is hard. I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing is, especially for when I was transitioning into filmmaking, like script writing in particular is a completely different medium. The way that everything works, like you are taught to be very focused and write a lot of, big points and give research and come around and again think critically about what you're writing. And script writing, you can get away with like a sentence describing something is like 5 words, like at most. Like that's like, and it could mean a whole thing, because a screenplay is just what you give to an actor to be like, you do this, versus like a piece you're writing where it's like, read this, take this in, digest this. So it was difficult. You had to kind of unlearn everything that you had. But then more when I got into my job as a journalist, it actually helped even more, because I kind of blended both of those. It was like, how do I not be too wordy and give people the facts, but also when I'm picking, when I have an interview with someone and I'm choosing facts inside this interview, you're thinking more critically than I've almost ever felt in my life, because again, which one you choose or how you phrase it or where you place it in an article, in a story, literally will change the name of the game for how that entire story is taken out. It can be from where you get an email from old Mary Sue saying shame on you for shaming truck drivers, or you'll actually inspire serious like legal change, which we have done at our station in terms of protecting retired individuals and senior citizens. We've done a lot actually with like the state attorney general to fix that stuff. So you have all those extremes, all those opportunities, and so thinking critically in those moments is like more than I've ever thought. So you're learning essential skills even if you're not putting pen to paper in the same way that you were doing in 101 or 102 or beyond. So that's probably what I'd say. Do I just stay up here now?
Yep. Oh, question. And
So my question is, have you ever had writer's block, and what do you do? How do you go about getting that creativity flowing again? Yes.
Worst. I have the worst writer's block like ever. I still actually talk to Professor Schittemarker a lot about like writer's block specifically. It's been a difficult adjustment, as I said, like to almost readjust back into creative writing from objective journalistic writing, where there is a little bit of opportunity for creativity, but it's like, maybe you said one sentence a little more fun than you would have in another way of giving some legal jargon. So it's really difficult. And script writing, especially if that's kind of what you're targeting more as my path in script writing, like script writing is hard because it's literally just you. Like it is, when you're writing a film, you're writing from your own experiences. You're never making something else like just kind of out of thin air. No matter what, like the way your characters are going to behave, the way their situations are going to be is you. So for me, it's a really exposing medium to be in and to kind of be a part of. And it's difficult, especially to seek feedback. Feedback is easily one of my favorite things, but it's hard. It's really hard. So, when you've got writer's block, for me, it just kind of comes to me. Obviously, my attentions are towards, journalistic quality versus what used to just be filmmaking. Because when I was at GB, I was living in like a wonderland of just like, I'm going to go to this class and I'm going to learn how to shoot things. And it's like, I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to learn how to write a movie. And they're going to call me a filmmaker and tell me I'm cool. It's like, sure, you live in that and then you get in the real world and they're like, sweet. Like, so can you work a 10-hour day today? And you're just like, okay, very cool. So yeah, it just comes on your own. It really comes from your own drive and what you're trying to get. But a lot of it just comes from that personal experience and where you want, what story you want to tell and where you're coming from doing so, if that answers your question.
And then I also have another question, one more question for you, and then I have one more question for all of you guys. My next question is, what would be a piece of advice you would give a student going into journalism?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, because I didn't go into journalism, obviously. That was the thing. I went into filmmaking, and so when I went into journalism, get excited. I mean, really just get excited. As I earlier kind of implied, right, I said like television specifically is like a dead medium. Journalists, no matter what, exist everywhere. It's just kind of changing in ways that it's been, where now I would say almost for lack of a better term, the standard of quality has almost, I don't want to say it's dropped, but when you have like a Taylor Swift reporter for Variety getting paid more than like a television thing, it's like, it just goes to show you that there's a lot of range. There's range and there's ways. Ooh, he didn't like that one. He's out of here. Look at that. He's a big Swiftie. No, but so But yeah, there's different things you have to cover and different things you want to do, but there's always so much fun to do. I'm specifically an entertainment reporter for 13, so I only talk about fun stuff like movies and TV and everything like that. But some people take a real interest in learning about crime and learning, following these kind of stories to completion. And so just get excited, but start to really think critically outside of what you're writing. Look at your world a little differently. Look at how much is happening around you and realize how much of a story is in there. And then ask the questions you're learning here, which again, who cares? Who cares about this car crash that happened? Probably the family and probably, the road commission like MDOT. If people are dying at your intersection over and over again, like, yeah, you got to change it. And so when you start really getting down to it, you realize that every little thing that's happening around you, there's a story that can be told and some need to be told. And it's up to you to kind of find that. So that's what I would say.
So I want everyone, and this is our last question.
Yep.
Folks.
I'm sorry. I'm a news writing and reporting major. I'm doing this event actually. Okay. And then my one was just, have you guys always had a positive relationship with writing throughout your academic career, or is this just something like you've grown to love?
All right.
I think I've grown to love it. And I think I've grown to love it because it's just a part of your life. You can't, like any job that you have, any career that you go into, you're going to have to do some form of writing. I think for me, like I really, I like, for example, I'll just sit around and I'll think of log lines all day for projects. And so I'll just like, if I have an idea, I'll write it down and then I'll just sit there and I'll write log lines, and that'll like which are just short synopses of kind of the project. Like it sums it up, and it's designed to kind of pique your interest. And so I just do that all throughout the day to kind of continue to inspire projects and inspire me to go out and kind of do them. But I think the problem is that like how my brain goes is that I'm always inspired, so I'm always writing, but like sometimes that gets in the way of the actual. I tend to forget that I am a visual artist, and I need to go out and photograph these things, and so sometimes writing can be great, and it can send you down this rabbit hole of just inspiration. So yeah, it's always going to be a part of my life, and I'm always, the more that I do it, the more excited that I get about it. Whereas in college, I guess that wasn't the case. I had a kind of a bad relationship with writing. It was a challenge. So
William, would you like to tell us your thoughts?
Sure. So I kind of hated writing all throughout high school, and I really didn't start to like it until I took the college classes, because I did them as a early middle college student, where I was half high school, half college. And these college classes gave me the freedom to write about things I liked. I could argue them. I wasn't really restricted. And then I kind of learned to adapt to writing, or turning writing into something I like because I have a passion about it, which is now the same thing, whether I'm doing it for psychology or for a legal brief arguing why this defendant should not be punished based off some legal statute. So it was really in the college classes where I found out how my passion could be turned into writing. And now it's just something I do every day.
All right. Thank you. You want to close it out? Do you have anything to add, Eric?
It's not as exciting. No, I really didn't like writing when I was getting up. I liked writing about movies, but if it was anything else, I didn't like it too much. So that's it. That's really me.
Well, thank you all. I'm gonna let my colleague here close this out. Yes, because I've been doing a lot of chatting. So here.
All right. Yeah. So thank you all for coming. I'd loved seeing my students here. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to give us the feedback. Thank you to our presenters and for Eric for being here in person and for making this a really good welcome back to Who Cares Why Bother, revamped for Real Writing for Real People. Okay, don't forget to take the survey. Thank you so much. And snacks, please do not leave food. And if you want to chat or whatever, come chat, ask questions. Like if you have a journalist a question, sure, for a couple minutes. Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you so much.